particularly going after her wonderful half-sister, Samantha.
And suddenly you just have my mom, who's classy and quiet and there, and then you have the other side of my family that is just...
It started as nothing more than a quiet rumor, but now it's exploded into a full-blown legal storm, shaking everything around it. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, is suddenly facing the courtroom chaos nobody expected, especially after so many in the media had already labeled her as forgotten. Now, stepping back into the spotlight is her half-sister, Samantha Markle. She isn't just bringing back the lawsuit everyone thought was long gone. She's coming back with sharper words, louder energy, and stacks of receipts. Insiders say that Meghan's closest allies are already growing nervous, and the panic is spreading fast.
Only for a day and a half. Suddenly, it felt like she was everywhere. I don't know your middle name. I don't know your birthday. I hadn't had her fall out with her. We didn't have a closeness to be able to have that.
Let's take a step back, because this has gone far beyond a simple family fight or a splashy tabloid headline. What's happening now feels like a calculated, perfectly planned legal counterattack, and it's starting to crack the very image Meghan has been carefully shaping ever since that explosive Oprah interview. At that time, the story seemed clear. Meghan stood as the victim, courageously sharing her truth. But now, Samantha's legal team is tearing at that version, hinting that her so-called truth might have been a well-rehearsed act, complete with soft lighting and dramatic music to pull on emotions. And this time, they say they have a plan sharp enough to prove it all. Don't forget Samantha's first defamation case. It was thrown out in no time, but this new round feels very different.
The victim of those vicious attacks, Samantha Markle, joins me now to give her side of the story. And look, Samantha, we had Tom Bauer on earlier, who is obviously...
The judges decided that Meghan's statements were just personal opinions, not solid facts that could stand up to legal challenge. But that ruling didn't shut the door for good. Instead, legal experts say it gave Samantha's lawyers a clear guide on exactly where they went wrong. It was almost like being handed a cheat sheet for a powerful comeback. And that's precisely what followed. This new appeal doesn't waste time repeating old arguments. It zeroes in on something much sharper: intent. Samantha's legal team now claims Meghan didn't simply tell her truth. She carefully built it, fully knowing it would tear apart her half-sister's reputation. Let that sink in for a second. They're not just questioning Meghan's words anymore. They're going straight for the reason she said them in the first place.
So she's trying to make out there that she has no form of relationship with you.
Well, that's been the rhetoric so far, and I think, I was never out there saying...
Now, the battle isn't about what Meghan said. It's about what she knew at the very moment she said it. That's a massive twist, because suddenly this goes way beyond hurt feelings or confusion. It's about whether Meghan knowingly used her fame to silence someone who never stood a chance. And in the legal world, that changes absolutely everything. This isn't just another chaotic family fight anymore. It's being framed as a full-blown power move with real legal bite. Samantha's attorneys even claim they've uncovered private messages that back it all up, emails, text exchanges, and even recordings that reportedly show Meghan's team was fully aware there would be fallout for her sister. And if those claims are true, this wasn't coincidence, it was calculation. A perfectly planned story designed to lift Meghan's image while throwing Samantha right under the bus.
We thought, my brother and I thought, a pretty normal life. But it wasn't until the time of the wedding when the media started to get to us. In other words, we didn't seek out the media. We were...
In that Netflix documentary, it's now sitting right at the heart of Samantha's lawsuit. Legal analysts are even calling it a fresh wave of defamation that could hit harder than before. Unlike the Oprah interview, which was emotional and over in one explosive evening, the Netflix series was a long-term production, filmed, edited, and polished over many months. That extended timeline could become key evidence, showing Meghan had every possible opportunity to rethink her comments, yet still chose to stand by them. What makes it even worse for Meghan is the reach. The series wasn't local or limited, it went global. This wasn't just a one-night broadcast, it was a 6-episode event translated into dozens of languages and streamed straight into more than 200 million homes around the world. Now, the damage to Samantha's image isn't just personal, it's international, measurable, and backed by actual streaming data. And Samantha's lawyers, they're gearing up to use that massive scale as proof of just how deep the harm truly goes.
In my opinion, this is what it seemed like. Seal off the hatches so nobody can talk. And almost instantly, it seemed as though dirt was being thrown upon us so that if somebody did speak to us, that
Samantha's legal team is treating that worldwide audience like pure dynamite. They argue that the Netflix series didn't just repeat old accusations, it supercharged them. It turned up the volume, using cinematic tricks like dramatic music, striking visuals, and clever editing to paint Samantha as the villain on a global stage. And here's where it gets dangerous for Meghan. If even part of that argument lands, her entire defense could start to crumble. Because once the line between personal opinion and proven falsehoods driven by intent is crossed, it stops being free expression, it becomes defamation in the eyes of the law. And Samantha's lawyers are ready to go all in. Their appeal doesn't gently request a second look, it demands one. And whispers coming from inside the 11th Circuit say the judges are indeed taking notice. This might be the most precarious moment Meghan Markle has ever faced, not in the tabloids, but right there in court.
that weren't real in the media and always out there. So it's not like we were out there trying to, it was very
weird.
weird.
What's so horrible about what she's done in this TV show is
This fight is heading straight into the courtroom, and this time, Meghan won't be calling the shots or controlling the cameras. The real shock isn't just in the legal arguments, it's in the explosive evidence Samantha's team is ready to reveal. Court insiders say they're sitting on piles of documentation, not emotional statements or guesses, but solid proof. We're talking screenshots, verified timestamps, police reports, medical files, and even psychiatric evaluations ready to hit the record. And this isn't about turning Meghan into a villain, it's about building a case so powerful that even the toughest, most skeptical judge won't be able to ignore it. According to those close to Samantha's legal circle, the aftermath of Meghan's public remarks was devastating. Samantha was hit with death threats by the hundreds. Not a handful, but a full wave so intense that law enforcement had to intervene and take serious action.
Particularly going after her wonderful half-sister, Samantha.
And suddenly you just have my mom, who's classy and quiet and there, and then you have the other side of my family that is just acting differently. My half-sister, who I hadn't seen for...
And this wasn't just random online hate. It spiraled into full-blown doxing, stalking, and organized smear campaigns that tore away every trace of normal life for Samantha. Her legal team says they can pinpoint the biggest waves of abuse straight to Meghan's major public moments, matching each surge perfectly with the timing of her appearances in the spotlight. That's the crucial detail. It's not just that the harassment happened, but when it happened and what caused it. Samantha's lawyers are calling it influencer harassment, a chilling concept that suggests a celebrity's massive influence can unleash waves of anonymous attackers without ever saying a single word directly. And in Samantha's version of events, that's exactly what she believes Meghan did. She saw the storm coming, and she chose to let it rage on anyway.
Samantha Markle joins me now to give her side of the story. And look, Samantha, we had Tom Bauer on earlier, who has obviously researched both sides of the story, and he's with you. He thinks Meghan is telling porcupines. But let's respond to what she...
By portraying her half-sister as toxic or unstable, Meghan would have understood exactly what she was setting in motion, an onslaught of retaliation from her most loyal fans and digital defenders. And if a judge agrees with that perspective, the consequences could be massive. Legal experts are already warning that this case might reshape how defamation works in the social media era. If Samantha's claims are proven true, it could mean celebrities can no longer shield themselves behind the line of just sharing my story. There would be real accountability when those stories lead to measurable harm, especially against private individuals with no voice or platform to fight back. So Meghan isn't just being accused of using harsh words, she's being accused of turning her fame into a weapon. And for Samantha, the damage isn't just about reputation, it's personal, emotional, and deeply human.
Dirt was being thrown upon us so that if somebody did speak to us, that we would have no credibility. So it was an interesting phenomenon, and this vicious cycle of wanting to set the record straight, wondering what was going on with her, wanting to give her the benefit of the doubt, and still all the while feeling like
the damage goes far beyond reputation. It's deeply psychological. Samantha's legal team has assembled a lineup of mental health professionals ready to testify that she endured severe emotional trauma, PTSD, and ongoing anxiety directly linked to Meghan's words and the chaos that followed. They're even submitting therapy notes, medical reports, and prescription records as undeniable proof. And their mission is crystal clear: to show this wasn't just a temporary emotional reaction, but a full-scale mental health crisis that completely changed the direction of her life. But now, an entirely new layer is surfacing, one that's beginning to send serious shockwaves through Meghan's own inner circle.
Wow.
Firstly, wow, what a porky pie. When that happened, also at the same time, we had found out that with my dad's heart attack, the Queen and King Charles wanted to reach out, but we heard that my sister said no. Similarly with this, I just recently found
Discovery? That's the stage Meghan's team fears more than anything. If the appeals court allows this case to move ahead, she could be forced to turn over private emails, text exchanges, and behind-the-scenes production notes from before, during, and after those explosive interviews. That could include correspondence with Netflix producers, Oprah's crew, and even her own PR strategists, all potentially exposed in court for the world to see. And from what insiders are saying, Samantha's legal team is chasing down every single piece of it with full force. Their goal isn't just to show that Meghan's words were misleading, it's to prove she planned the entire storyline from the very beginning, shaping the narrative to her own advantage.
Speak. I wanted my kids to be raised with their grandparents because I didn't trust babysitters. When I was dealing with disability and having to work, I didn't know anyone in Los Angeles well enough that I felt safe with that. So I felt like I was doing the admirable
because you're in a
thing.
wheelchair, Sam, and you were going through.
The claim is that Meghan fully understood her words would stir outrage, drag her family's image through the mud, and that she and her team used that backlash as fuel to strengthen her personal brand. In that light, the defense of just telling my truth starts to fall apart, especially if private communications show her carefully crafting the story for maximum public reaction. And here's what's really shaking Meghan's legal camp. This battle has grown far beyond a single angry family member.
Was lied to. And my sister, in fact, was the one reportedly who told Ashley she couldn't go to the wedding. So I felt like she was manipulating my daughter, lying to her. And that's really sad because my daughter seemingly was holding a grudge and feeling like I was the reason she couldn't come to the wedding.
It's as if Meghan is now trying.
This battle has outgrown Meghan. It now threatens the entire Sussex brand itself. Because if this case reaches trial and she loses, the fallout won't end at the courthouse doors. Hollywood insiders, corporate sponsors, and media executives are watching every move, already weighing whether to distance themselves from the controversy. And Samantha's legal team knows exactly what's at stake. They're not just fighting for a win, they're aiming to bring down the entire Sussex media empire with one crushing strike. What began as quiet legal whispers has now erupted into blazing national headlines. And Meghan's defense team, they're staring straight into their biggest fear, because the appeals court isn't ignoring Samantha's claims anymore, it's paying close attention.
And by the way, what you're saying is completely correct, Samantha, because I've spoken to lots of my own royal sources as well, and they were always very clear. They never told Meghan who to invite to her own wedding.
The court isn't simply listening to Samantha's accusations, it's tearing them apart piece by piece with surgical precision. Judges are reportedly questioning whether Meghan's expert media training and calculated PR strategy weaken her claim of innocent storytelling. And that's exactly where the real danger begins to explode. Because this fight goes beyond the surface of Meghan's words, it's digging into how rehearsed, deliberate, and strategically delivered they might have been. The entire case could soon hinge on one powerful concept that's sending ripples through Hollywood: weaponized storytelling.
Father is recovering from a stroke, literally about a 3-hour drive. I mean, could you believe that? She doesn't have a father.
Legal analysts say Samantha's appeal portrays Meghan as someone who used emotional storytelling not to heal or share her truth, but to shape public perception and tear others apart. Her polished public statements are now being directly compared to private communications, and when placed side by side, they paint a deeply unsettling image. The argument couldn't be clearer. Meghan's interviews and glamorous documentaries weren't about honesty or reflection, they were about control, image, and influence.